Why is there so much unnecessary filler in games now? Crafting, farming, fishing, unnecessary resource gathering, AI, limited time events, cutscenes, in-game currency, irrelevant boring quests, emotes, skins, requirement for online connection in non-multiplayer games, requirement for account linking. This intro section that I really should be finished with so it doesn't pad out the video. Padding. That's what most games nowadays do to boost high playability time when the main meat and potatoes of the game really only constitutes a fraction of that game time. Bethesda gamers know what I'm talking about with all the walking, loading screens, and boring ass quests. The AAA industry always has been about bigger and better numbers, but when a quality game idea can only last for so long, they pad it with whatever half-baked, empty-looking ass worlds to set a new gaming world record. As these games have become bigger and more ambitious, they've also tried to become a game that can do everything, as if doing only one or two game genres wasn't enough. They want to appeal to as many people as possible, so they put in many systems or genres to try to capture every single gamer possible. But in turn, they lose focus on the main core of the game and spread themselves too thin. I hate to be that guy, but games back then really only had one thing in mind, and that was the core gameplay itself. No extra fluff to try to make some niche sect of gamers like the game. If you played the game and didn't like it, so be it. But if you like the game, then you will really love it for its intricately designed, unique experience that the devs put their whole time into. Or you can just drop it because of the clunky ass controls. It seems like now in modern gaming that this simple design is long gone. Greed will continue to corrupt more and more games. There is no hope anymore. The end. Of course not, you dingus. Why would I make this video then without having an answer to this problem? I also need more time to put more ads in the video. Now, let's go to the actual solution to this problem. Let me introduce you to roguelikes. Roguelikes are games defined by... Oh my god, I don't wanna deal with this bullshit. Basically, permadeath and random generation are important factors in a roguelike. You nerds can define the specifics in the comments, but these two are all you need to roughly know what a roguelike is. These two are also the reason why roguelikes have very little filler in them. The permadeath and random generation makes the feel of gameplay hard to predict. The only thing the developer can truly control is the core gameplay loop. This core is what makes or breaks a roguelike. Anything that slows down the flow of the gameplay loop will be multiplied by the repetitive nature of roguelikes. Moving 1% slower is a huge deal if it means that you lose seconds in every run that you do.
One Trump assassination attempt later.
Everything, and I mean everything, must be designed to be fun from the first run to the millionth. Everything needs to be meticulous and properly designed to keep that fun. So, you rarely ever see some boring ass dialogue, gacha system, in a roguelike's main gameplay loop. Hell, even the menus are designed to not hinder that momentum of fun. Risk of Rain 2 expertly designs their menus to be so simple and fast that after a run is done, you can literally quick press enter 3 times and you're in another run. The menus don't even have time to load from how fast the game loads the next run. The speed of these menus are super important, as wasting the slightest picosecond might stop you from that feeling of one more run. That totally will be it this time, and I will win everything and have epic sex. Okay, maybe not that last one. I'm not projecting. Another design of roguelikes is that every room and every space is in service of the gameplay. Each room has an interactable or challenge to play with. Every floor can be explored in a minute or less. No fast travel required. Enemies too are designed to service the gameplay very effectively. Risk of Rain 2 spawns enemies around you and on the stage so that you don't waste time trying to find them. More room-based roguelites have the enemies served right as you enter the room. Shops are also in-universe so that no menu needs to pop up that wastes your time. Just go to the shop room, buy, cha-ching, you're done. This speed and momentum-based design over its systems helps the player be stuck in this loop of one more run, one more run, one more run, one more run. Oh shit, it's 3 again. Fuck. A death is no longer the end, but just a setback to the next potential god run. Any of the filler systems that I mentioned, if they were inserted into this loop, would ruin the momentum. Even if it was just a few seconds of waiting, it accumulates and accumulates to minutes and even hours, just like how all the time you wipe your ass in a year accumulates to a day wasted. So in essence, what we have learned is that we should remove the unnecessary filler in games, and maybe even stop wiping your ass. Now, I want to rant real quick about the difference between a roguelike and a roguelite, and why roguelites don't have the same feel as a roguelike. You nerds can argue again in the comments, but roguelites to me differ because they have meta progression, and to me, this is filler to the smooth repetitive gameplay of a roguelike. They add crafting, leveling up, farming, just to get some tiny ass upgrade to your character instead of getting better through your skills and understanding of the game. These systems are always so basic anyway and do not provide meaningful, satisfying gameplay. In Hades 2, the farming is just press button and wait, no interesting choices with seasons or specific soil or crop quality. It's just a boring chore to do that hinders from the godlike, roguelike action of the main game that I love. Roguelites are the perfect example of how poorly designed filler ruins and hinders the core gameplay loop of a game. Rant over. Sure, all I've talked about is natural to roguelikes, and most other game genres don't work like that. Some genres are based on a mix of many different systems in one game. But I hope developers take some notes from roguelikes and really get into the mind of the players and ask themselves if I really need to add this animation of a gobby twerking his ass into my RTS game. Answer's probably yes, but point still stands. Loading screens especially, like, my god. I know I'm so spoiled with the 0-second loading screens of roguelikes, but the amount of loading these big AAA games have is quite honestly criminal. I am not the developer, far from it. But despite having hundreds of smart developers and trillions of dollars, they can't bother to optimize some loading screens and file size. Goes to show the difference between having happy developers and developers that develop depression. Another thing that they could fix is putting too many features into one game, just like Twitter trying to be the Twitter of everything. Fucking Elon. If you are a first-person shooter, let me shoot. Everything else either services the shooting or doesn't stop me from it. Sure, some backstory and flair would be nice, but that realistically should be 10% of a game. Gosh, he's so fucking badass. I got ADHD, and every little bit of stimulus distracts me. Although this could be used as a benefit like in Breath of the Wild, where you go off exploring into interesting locations due to the amount of content the game has. But I bet those lazy stinky CEOs in AAA never really intend to do that. All they really intend to do is just gain profit from you. Fury is a perfect example of implementing the principles of roguelikes into a non-roguelike game. What's the main point of the game? Fighting cool-ass bosses. And that is exactly what you do for 95% of the game. The story is told through a short walk between bosses that also serves as a rest between fights. When you die, you just press a single boop and you're back to fighting. It knows that people wants to just slay some badass bosses, and that's all it gives you. It doesn't try to be anything else than a boss-slaying game, and I miss that design philosophy in the games that are being pumped out today. If you've never played a roguelike, you should try one. Roguelites are fine too, but just know a small Asian woman will stare at you every time you go out. Some games I recommend are Risk of Rain 2, Hades, and Slay the Spire. Once you've played a roguelike for a bit and experience this wonderfully crafted gameplay loop, you will realize how much fun has been wasted from filler in other games. Sure, roguelikes have their own problems such as initial difficulty, lack of guidance, and random generation, but the intricate design of every system and how they all service the gameplay can be appreciated by every gamer. So again, try a roguelike. There might be something that you like. Wow!